Welcome back to the Arena Sealed League set evaluation. Today we're going over blue. We had a couple of videos already covering the signpost on commons and the white cards. There might have been some audio issues, but that's fixed. I'm going to speak more into the mic this time. And today we're going to go over the blue cards, and we already have some good impressions from having played the set for a couple of weeks now. It's been out for a little longer, so we're not rating the cards based on not having played with them like in the previous evaluation videos. So we have a better idea of what's going on in this set, Crimson Vow. So we'll just start looking at the first blue common here. We have Alchemist's Revival. It's a cleave card. It says return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand if you play the cleave cost, and it's only targeting your own permanents if you don't play the cleave. Pay the cleave cost of 1 blue, and it's an instant. So what do you think of this?
I mean, it's like a 2 mana unsummon, which if you're really trying to find non-creature spells, I guess you might want it, or you're a really heavy tempo deck, but it doesn't give you card advantage. It's card disadvantage and a slight tempo advantage.
Yeah, we've
It's like
definitely
a
seen.
D.
Yeah, we've seen better cards that do the same thing. If you're lacking interaction and just want to survive, this can do the trick. Is to like slow down your opponent's aggro stuff. Yeah, but I'd probably give it like D plus. Bring it in if the sideboard. If you see an aggro deck, it can be useful there. I'm not trying to get extra ETBs out of the bouncing my own stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go to the next card. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, Lantern Bearer is a 1/1 flying spirit for blue. It's flying. It has Disturb for 2 and a blue, and it disturbs into Lantern's Lift. It enchants creature. It gets +1/+1 and has flying. So it literally just puts itself onto another card and gives itself flying.
Check the
Um,
picture there. It's being lifted up by lanterns.
yeah, it's this card is played out really good. Every time it's been cast against me, it has hurt. The +1/+1 is real. Uh, so it's a great card. I think a solid C plus.
Yeah, so 1 mana, 1/1 flyers. They've been worse than this for sure. This is a lot of upside. This is probably front runner for the top few blue commons, I believe. It clocks in for damage for a while, and this is one of the few. I think it's the only. No, it's not the only one, but it's one of the few disturbed things that actually buff a creature, stat wise. It gives a +1/+1, and along with flying, that's a serious threat if you put it on like some 3/3 or something. The game they have to deal with it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it helps against other flyer heavy decks. It's super versatile.
Yeah, you don't mind exploiting this, and it doesn't go away. You got a backside of it, even if you exploit this card. I think C plus is good for this too. It's yeah, that's really good for some common that you're going to see a lot of. Next up, we have Syncopate. We've seen this one before. A lot of people are annoyed by it. It's 1 blue and X in its cost. It's an instant, and it's a counter spell. Counter target spell unless its controller plays X. If that spell is countered in this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard, meaning it's gonna make things not be able to recur. It's gonna get rid of disturbed stuff like for good, and it's just annoying to play against because it's a variable cost counter spell.
Uh, I don't know what your thoughts on this card is, but I really love Syncopate in this set. Um, it is really strong against a bunch of stuff, and usually only fizzles out if you draw it late against like an aggro deck. They're still trying to double spell. They're using blood tokens. You'll usually be able to catch something with it, and when you catch something that is like a game-winning bomb, there's not other answers to those in this set. So
Yeah,
I like Syncopate's
that,
format.
that's something I was gonna say. Is bombs. You might have heard at this point in the format, bombs are dictating the set more than anyone in recent past. There's not many ways to deal with a whole host of rares in this set, and this can nab those. It's one of the only ways. Counter spells are like a classic way to deal with something that it's hard to remove and stuff. That or card discard. Um, I'm not going to rate this super highly on in terms of pick order, but I'll be glad to pick one up. Even though I'm generally don't play as many counter spells as the average person if I'm in blue, I'm happy to pick it up. But I can give it like a C.
Yeah, I think a C is where I give it, and like against certain matchups, or if you're playing best of three, or for sealed, if somebody has a bomb heavy deck, like it goes up in value.
Yeah, sounds right. We have a totally not a reprint from Theros here. Am I right?
Yeah, I like that other card too. Cradle Safety is the cutest card of the set. It's one in a blue for a flashed enchantment aura. It enchants a creature you control, gives it hexproof until the end of turn, and it gets +1/+1. A very flexible combat trick, slash hexproof. Again, if you have stuff you want to protect, it's good. If not,
Yeah, extra value in this set for having enchantments on a creature, heavy on one creature type of focus deck. Meaning, if you put a bunch of enchantments on one creature that you want to protect, this is going to do that, and even make it more dangerous. This is something I'd run one of, maybe two, if I'm going all out on that, like protect this creature strategy. Nothing I want to take highly. It's probably I'd probably take it at like C minus. I don't have to. They stick around in the pack at the end. It's not terrible, but you can pick one up if you need it.
yeah, C minus is pretty good. You get a little value. You can generally save a card and some tempo. So I don't think it drops into the D range, but C minus. I mean, if your
Yeah,
deck wants these, they can be super strong, but that's like this maybe the non-creature deck you are, but
I do run them, but yeah, it's not a high pick. All right, next we have Fear of Death. Another. No, sorry. This is an enchantment aura. Costs 1 and a blue. When Fear of Death enters the battlefield, mill 2 cards, and enchanting creature gets -X, -0. X is the number of cards in your graveyard. This is not a flash card, even though some cards like this will come in and flash at the instant speed. I'm not generally a fan of this because the removed creature sticks around. The only place I'd be a fan in this is if you're really interested in milling, which the blue-green deck is depending on uh, your deck constitution, but not a high pick for me. It's got to be a D.
yeah, I think a D. I mean, it definitely locks down a creature, but they can still block. It gets really bad if you're playing a stack deck or anything that can sack it for value. Um, I
Yeah,
mean, this is the kind of card that will get lucky and really save the game and win some games, but it's also like a card that will often not do what you want to do.
I've seen the Simic mill deck go off before, but it's pretty rare. It's also the
That's
extra value of milling a disturbed creature. It's not as great as it was in the last set, but some value there.
yeah. So a D for Fear of Death, D minus for me.
Okay. Uh, Here we have the Selhoff Tumor.
The Selhoffen Tumor, 1 blue for a 1/3 zombie, has tap, discard a creature card, draw a card. This might be one of the ones that I think, at least for me, fades in comparison to the mid of the set. I like this card still. I think, like, if you know, listen to the limited resources ones, they really like this card. Probably now, blue just being not as great color, it falls. But I think it's still like a C for the blue deck. It's a totally fine 2 drop.
It's hard to evaluate discard a creature card because that's usually not what you want to discard. It gets a little value early game if you're really looking for that third or fourth land. You can pitch hopefully a disturbed creature. 2 drops that are just there defensively are never gonna be in. I would never put them in the D range if it's a 2 mana 1/3 and has an ability. I think it's gonna be at the bottom of those things that I'll play in my deck if I need to. So like C minus sounds right.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I'm gonna give it a C just because like the other blue 2 drops aren't as good, and this is one I'm happy
it
to
makes sense.
play in that deck.
Yeah, it makes sense. Uh, this is proven to be basically where I thought it would be after a couple weeks of play. I think it's yeah, just fine to include if you need
Yeah.
it. Serpentine Ambush. Speaking of not fine to include, it's a 1 and a blue instant. Until end of turn, target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power, toughness 5 and 5. Sorry, it's 5/5. We've seen cards like this; they like never perform well. This doesn't. I can't even think of like extra value this card gets. Is that rare Runo let you double this? I'm not sure.
it would, yeah, it would because you'd have to play it
Yeah.
pre-trigger, pre-Reno trigger to get it. Um, I think the best value that I'm gonna try to do this once this set is to flip it on the Drake that gives you a card when you cast a spell at it, and it's gonna be my card engine
Oh.
uh, spell deck,
Oh.
like burn spell basically.
Yeah, we'll see that one in the uncommons.
Yeah,
That being said, this
this
is
is
as close to unplayable, but not the most unplayable thing ever, so I'll give it D minus.
D minus. Yeah, it's real close to be unplayable.
An easy D minus for our work here. Next card.
Steelclad Spirit is 1 and a blue for a 3/3 Spirit Defender. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, Steelclad Spirit can attack as though it didn't have Defender. We've seen this kind of card commonly in blue and sometimes in blue red. The 3/3 Defender that starts attacking.
Yeah. Defensive, fine. If you need a defensive 2-drop, some decks flash 2-drops and they just need to get to that late game. This does a fine job at that, I find. Don't expect to win by beating down like the Prismari card we saw in Strixhaven. That can beat down a lot more consistently than this.
Yeah, it's very hard to like get this to attack, and by the time it's attacking, it's just gonna get eaten by something. So it's a defender pretty much. Yeah, itself, and if you care about spirits, what do you want to give it?
There are decks that can use this better than others. I haven't tried it yet, but there's someone in our Discord was telling us about slapping a bunch of those 1 and a white enchantments on things. That it's a 1 and a white and summons a spirit, and also helps. I can't remember the name, but we uh,
Nurturing presence.
yeah, that might be it. And it busts the thing it's on. I mean, if you have tons of enchantments, this can actually be a beater though. So I haven't played that deck yet, but I would say outside of that deck, this is something like uh, a D a D plus. It's fine as a
I
defender.
Yeah, I agree completely. A D plus. It just hasn't played very well.
I want to try that deck though to see if this can get down as a beater. Cool card here. It's Wretched Throng, 1 and a blue. It's a 2/1. And when the Throng dies, you may search your library card for a Wretched Throng and reveal it and put it into your hand. So it keeps dying into itself, like the picture shows. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Again. This is a target I like using the Exile Shock on,
Hmm.
just to screw with them. Um, Basically, I saw a graph actually. I think it was from 17 Lands where this performed best, and it said 4 and I think 3 and 5 in your deck performed better than 4. Weirdly, but 1 and 2 are quite poor. So basically, play this if you have 3 or more.
Yeah, and it's been like it can definitely go off. I think I've played against somebody who had 5 of them, but I had the vampire like hose every creature card,
Oh,
um, and so it didn't work. But they're annoying to play against. This is a gradient scale. If you have full, if it looks like blue is open, you might start picking them early, um, because
it's
it's
great. It's great as a two
pretty card
drop
advantage. But
if you got.
you want a bunch.
Yeah,
So like,
so definitely have a few. You can expect if you see this on the board that your opponent has at least another one. I
yeah,
would
it's like a
say
deep.
yeah, I would say something like D plus, but it obviously gets better every one you take. So
Yeah, it's like a D plus if you have one, up to like a C plus if you have like plus or B minus if you have like 4 or 5.
yeah, moving on.
The Binding Geist. This is 2 and a blue for a 3/1 spirit that has Disturb. When the creature itself attacks, a target creature an opponent controls gets -2, -0 until end of turn. And you can disturb it to give any target creature -2, -0. Pretty good card. Attacks as a 3/3. Because it essentially trades with a 3/3 defender. Um,
If it's alone attacking into
if it's
one.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a little not too much to give, to take something else out of the game or to make it tinier. Um, this is a good blue common.
This is I'd say this is one of the less impressive disturb cards. I'd rather have almost every other disturb card that I've seen, other than this. Although I haven't played it this much, I'm just more impressed by the other disturbed creatures. Because well, I don't know. I don't have too much experience with it. I can tell you the first time I did cast the disturb side of this, I assumed it was like all of the other disturb cards, and Richard Koffler was watching me. We were on stream, and I put -2/-0 on my own creature, and it didn't ask me, "Are you sure about this?" like it usually does, because I just assumed it does the same thing that the front of the creature does, as most of the other disturb cards do. So I slapped
Yeah,
it on my
I
creature.
saw somebody do that to themselves as well that I was playing against. And I was like, oh,
It
ouch.
it kind of does it, but not quite. Uh, I just don't take this too highly. Of course, you get two cards out of one. It can't go so wrong if you do that. It's just I like pretty much every other disturb thing I think about better than this one. I think I would give it like C-.
Yeah, C- is where I'm at. Eh, it works sometimes to C+ level, but yeah,
I think I have an aversion to the remove something but not quite remove it, and that's half this card. Ooh, I like this card. This set's man, I don't remember the name of it. The vampire one from last time. It's called Chill of the Grave. It's an instant 2 and a blue. It costs one less, so 1 and a blue if you have a zombie on the field. And it taps the target creature, it kind of freezes it, doesn't untap, and you draw a card. So it's a cantrip as well. I found this to be really effective if you're like, because things are so tempo oriented this day and age. If you let them untap and then you cast this before attackers, that thing is not untapping for that turn or the next turn. You get a card out of the deal. It just slows the game down, as Chill of the Grave should. I'm actually
yeah,
quite high on this for a common.
it's changed the math of a lot of races that I've seen. When I've played it, it's been excellent. It gives you the card back. I've been ready to like straight up lethal somebody and have my best creature chilled and it's like, okay, guess the game's over.
I recently got a trophy
Um,
with like very little removal on two of these. I didn't even have a zombie. I didn't have one zombie in the deck. Did its work anyway.
yeah, the instant speed is really good because you lock something down for like 2 turns.
Yeah, it's a whole lot worse if it's not instant. This kind of card. I like it as a common for sure. I can't give it B range, but I'm gonna give it C plus.
Yeah, C plus is, I agree.
Blue doesn't have removal that comes around too often, especially the removals usually like slapping a bad enchantment on something. This is gonna
Yeah,
replace that in a way.
and this is a good card I think in the sealed format too. It's just nice. It might be replaceable later, but really good card.
Yeah, yeah. Anything that draws you. Yeah.
The Stitched Assistant is 2 and a blue for a 3/2 zombie that has exploit. If you exploit a creature, that's when you sacrifice the other creature for itself. You scry 1 and draw a card. It's it's good if you get to do the thing and you sacrifice something you don't care about. So if you can get lots of stuff, it works. It
My
really struggles when you're behind though.
I just changed my sealed league deck from black red to black blue, and I'm playing a few of these, and I have a lot of zombie making things, like they're black rare that make zombies if you've discarded a card. I'm waiting to like have enough fodder for this to be quite useful. Because this is not that useful if you don't have the fodder, but it's pretty good if you do. Um, it looks like exploit is a little weak in this set so far. As I said, fodder's not as easy to come by as it maybe was in Midnight Hunt. But of course, if you crack some packs for our league of Midnight Hunt, you're gonna have those exploit creatures. Sorry,
Yeah,
the decay zombies. It's perfect for this. What do you
yeah.
think we should rate it?
The Decayed makes instead of like a draft for this format, like Stitched Assistant is not going to be as good as having a mid Vow combined like exploit blue black deck. So this card is going to get better, I think, in Sealed League by having those.
Yeah.
Just Decade to exploit.
And there's even something called the double feature coming up that's going to be some draft format. I don't know if it's going to come to MTGA or not, but it's the same idea, just mixing the two. As it stands now, yeah, exploit doesn't seem to be the greatest archetype in this set. So what do you think we should rate this common?
A C, it does the thing sometimes, and it really is weak less sometimes.
3 mana, 3/2
C
with some
minus.
options. Not the worst card in the world. It's scry and draw. It's not just draw. So yeah, I think C is fine. We got Siphon Essence, the counter spell with the set mechanic of this set. It's 2 and a blue, instant, counter target creature or planeswalker spell, so not a non-creature, and create a blood token. Got to give this something like a C to C minus, just where all the
Yeah,
counter spells usually are. I think I'd give it C minus though. It doesn't hit enchantments, and there are a lot of powerful enchantments actually in this set.
yeah. I think I might give it a D plus. It seems like there's better counter spells to be running. The
Yeah.
sideboard, it gets nice in sideboard if you're trying to block something, but D
Well, we
plus
should
for me.
say what we said about the last one, which is it is bomb heavy. If you're siding this in or you're playing in their sealed league and you know there are bombs there, this gets a better grade. So I'll
Yeah.
give it C minus. I haven't run one yet, and I might not, so maybe that's a bit generous. Speaking of haven't run yet, maybe you've run this.
Speaking of disappointing card, the Wanderlight Spirit is 2 and a blue for a flying 2/3 spirit. Weatherlight Spirit can block only creatures with flying. I played a deck that had a bunch of these, and I just got like it got to the point where I couldn't attack anymore in the air, and I was just like, okay, I just die. Um, I thought this was gonna be really good, but
I guess it shines when you're running into a lot of 1/1 flyers, or there's a bat that's a 2/2 flyer. That's where it shines. But it has that problem with spirits. If you want to block, which half the games of Magic you're going to be wanting to block, it doesn't do the job.
yeah, and it's not aggressive enough to really push a lot of damage. So I would rather be filling my spirits deck with like other stuff than this.
Yeah, this you'll get in the end of the pack every time. I would take it at like a D level for that. Maybe
Yeah,
it's a bit not D.
it's a,
Screw it.
it, maybe a C minus. I mean, it does what it's a flyer, but it's
Yeah,
not super exciting.
yeah. I just see it like not a high priority because of
D
reasons
plus
I
probably for
discussed.
me. Ooh, I like this card.
Oh, yeah. I spoke about my. Well, I'll read the card first. Cruel Witness is two and two blue, so 4 mana total. Total. It's a bird horror 3/3 flyer, and it lets you surveil whenever you cast a non-creature spell, meaning look at the top card of your library and you can put it into the graveyard. So I mentioned my sealed league. I moved into blue, and one of the reasons is I opened my third copy of this card. Just a 3 mana, a 4 mana 3/3 flyer, so it has evasion. It can just end games if you have a couple leads on the battlefield. It ends games like in not that long. Combine that with the surveil effect for just free on your cards you'd play anyway. I'm really impressed by this blue common. It's in the short list of top blue commons for me. What do you think?
Yeah, if nobody has, if nobody's in blue and you're getting multiples of these, like I see these wheeling quite often. Playing one, attacking with one, playing another, and then playing in and then like casting a spell with two of these out and you surveil like two. Oh, super good.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a card that I like having several of. Just at the four drop spot. I don't even have to have 5 or 6 drops. Just give me like 4 or 5 of these on a draft deck. Usually, you often win like that.
yeah, I would just play all of these that I get and then my top down, my top end down. C plus, I think for me.
Yeah, I feel like giving these B range, but I can't do it. It's a bit too vanilla to give it a in the B range. I think so. I think C plus is right. I'm so close to giving it a B minus. Though I like cards like this, but yeah, I'll give it C plus as well. Next we have Repository Scab.
So this scab is 3 and a blue for a 3/3 that has exploit. When it exploits a creature, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. I wanted to like this card,
The value.
but you have to really have a lot of stuff again. It's going to be good if you have in Sealed League if you have a lot of stuff to exploit, like exploit some Decayed, get a sorcery that makes a Decayed back. Pretty good.
All this exploit stuff goes well with a, I think it's an uncommon skeleton. It might not be uncommon, but it keeps coming back. It has that ability where it comes back on the battlefield. You pay 3.
Yeah, the persistent
Unfortunately,
thing.
there's quite a few exile. Like if anyone has that ramp spell, the manalith that gives you the mana rock that gives you the ability to exile stuff that just comes back in the graveyard. It kind of hoses this, not only the skeleton, but they'll get rid of stuff in your graveyard too, so this gets worse. This
Yeah, I
is
mean, I think
fine.
you need really good spells, and you need like disposable creatures because if you aren't getting it doesn't really give you any card advantage unless you are grabbing something that is really going to change and make a difference because you're killing something that's yours and basically playing a card for a card. So you have to have really good spells.
And the bombs are generally creatures and enchantments. I'm sure there are some bombs that are instants and sorceries that I'm not thinking of, but it's basically creatures and enchantments. It's all about that in this set. One downside of this card also, it's not something you're really fine with exploiting itself, like some cards are. You don't mind exploiting themselves. This is a 4-mana 3/3 that you're getting rid of if you have nothing good else to exploit. I'm gonna give this. It's you still get some value if you want it though. I'm not gonna knock it too bad. It's fine in the deck that can do the things that you mentioned. I'd probably give it C.
Yeah, it's C minus for me. In the spells deck, it'll help out, but not a priority.
All right, 3 more commons here. We have Scattered Thoughts. It's an instant for 4 mana, 3 and a blue, and it says look at the top 4 of your cards of your library, put 2 of those cards into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. Traditionally, this type of card has been really strong in draft. It's even probably better in our Sealed League than normal, but in draft, this type of card's traditionally been strong. The only thing is, lately, the sets have been really tempo oriented, and this is 4 mana to not affect the board, and that's a big red flag if you're trying to win in these latest sets. I think it was it was Tamio's Epiphany in War of the Spark that was just a great card to have. It kept you going. I think it's made you scry 3 and draw 3. This is
Hmm.
similar to that. I think it was that sorcery. Just those cards were so much better only a couple of years ago. This isn't terrible. You also have the graveyard synergy. Just nothing you got to pick up too urgently.
I mean, I feel that my thought on Scattered Thoughts is that it was a 3/2 creature called Organ Hoarder and mid, and
Mm-hmm.
that was way better. So, like
Yeah,
this isn't Behold the Universe. I would definitely play one of these, but it's not like you can stack your deck with these and just feel happy about it.
yeah, it's a 0/0 organ hoarder. Yeah,
Um,
not a top priority to pick this. I'd probably give it. It's good at what it does. I'm thinking C minus or D plus. I don't
yeah, I
think
think
you could take it too highly, so I think D plus. You'll get it if you need it.
yeah, you can definitely find it. I think strength of the card is C plus, but C minus. Sorry.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm being too hard with the D plus. You know what? I'll give it C minus. It does make the cut if you need it. It's probably not the D range.
All right. Skywarp Scab, 3/2 blue, uh, for a 2/5 zombie drake with flying. When Skywarp Scab enters the battlefield, you may exile 2 creature cards from your graveyard, and if you do, draw a card. I've I've liked this card. I would play 1 or 2 of these for sure.
I've not seen this cast actually myself yet.
Really.
It's good on the surface, I guess, but the 5-drop slot has replaceable. Like a lot of the cards are just replaceable. That's the knock against it. Sometimes you don't get the card. It looks good to play a nice blocking flyer and maybe get a card, although not always. One issue I have maybe is that blue has things that get exiled instead of being your graveyard because they turn into enchantments and then get exiled after. Might be harder to get that to work here. This is probably better in the Simic deck if anywhere because you mill. I do not want to play this if I don't get the card. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I
And
think it's a C because I don't find it too hard by 5. By turn 5 or 6 to have 2 things in your graveyard in this format. So just a straight C, I think. You're not gonna have trouble finding these.
I don't think I'm gonna put this in my deck too much. I don't know. I don't know why. I think it's just the 5-drop slot. I think I want to give it D plus.
Okay.
And we have our curve topper in blue here. Dreadlight Monstrosity. It's a 6-drop, 4 and 2 blue. It has ward 2. I think it might be the only instance of ward in this set. Maybe not.
There's a green rare.
Oh, okay. So it has it's a 5/5 and it's a crab horror. It has an activated ability. It is 3 colorless and 2 blue. Dreadlight Monstrosity can't be blocked this turn, and weirdly activate only if you own a card in exile, which I think it's the first time I've seen that stipulation.
I don't think this thing is big enough, and it's too expensive and too small. Are my thoughts.
It's never made the cut in my deck, but I could see it being the curve topper. If you have no other way to win, slap 1 or 2 of these in your deck, you have a way to win suddenly. How to get the card in exile? I would say probably play a disturb creature, and that can happen. I haven't really thought of it beyond that.
Yeah, it's certainly playable, but not a priority.
No, it hasn't made my list yet, but it's a win condition for 5 mana a turn. They're dead in 4 turns if they can't deal with it.
Probably a
So
D plus for me.
I think I'll say C minus, although I haven't played it yet. It's a way to win in 1 card, so I can't knock it too badly. Next, we're gonna take a look at the uncommons. First,
The Cobble Lancer, first uncommon. It's a blue for a 3/3. Before you get too excited, it has as an additional cost to cast a spell, exile a creature card from your graveyard. It has an activated ability. You can exile it from your own graveyard for 3 and a blue to draw a card. So it's a very low mana cost creature, but you have to exile something from your graveyard.
it says green blue Simic deck written all over it because of both of its abilities deal with mill. You want to mill to get it onto the field, and if you happen to mill this, you get to draw a card out of it at some point. Have not played with this yet. It seems fine if you can get the mill going, and outside, I don't want to play it in any deck. I think
Yeah,
outside of that,
I haven't gotten to like ever think that the mill deck was where I wanted to be going.
I got beat down real bad with mill once and only once, but I feel like the opponent lucked out hard. They got like mulch, the spider the uncommon spider that mills yourself at the beginning of every turn, and then like turn 6 and turn 7 they went 5 mana 8/8, 5 mana 10/10. That millipede. It's called millipede because it mills. It's a green
Oh
card.
yeah,
They just mulched some stuff and went to town. Like could not deal with
that's I think too much luck for what you want to be doing.
it. Yeah, I
Um,
haven't tried the deck yet, but yeah, this card in that deck decent, but
a,
overall I'd say like C. I'd say
a
C.
C plus, yeah, a C plus in the deck that is going to want it.
If you get it down, it does get you the card eventually. I'll say C overall. Speaking of the C, wash away.
Nice.
Costs 1 blue, it's an instant, and it says counter target spell that wasn't cast from its owner's hand. Its cleave cost is 2 blue and 1 colorless, and it says counter target spell. So it's the hard to cast counter spell um, if you don't cleave it. And the cleave cost is probably for constructed. There's some cases here, obviously, disturb. You can get some disturb countered for a whole card and 1 mana. Probably not what you want to do. This is not a high counter spell, I think, in the set. Probably for constructed for, what do you call it? Elrond's Epiphany
Hmm.
counter.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I think it's a sideboard card. Like if you manage to stick this in your deck, it'll be fine. like nobody's gonna see it coming. It's trying to do the exile thing, but you're still just getting one card for one card. So like a
Like
C
we said,
minus.
for the last two counters, it's like if you see a bomb, put it in. It is bomb heavy, but it does hit anything. That's what it has going for it. I'd say C minus is right.
Right, Lunar Rejection. I don't know what's going on this card.
Oh,
It
wow.
looks like some horrible wolf human amalgamation.
And there's no
Um,
flavor to help us.
yeah. Uh, it's one in a blue for an instant that is cleaved for three in a blue. So if it's just rejection, you return target wolf or werewolf to its owner's hand, draw a card, and the cleave cuts out wolf or werewolf, so return target creature. Good card. It's an uncommon, of course. Much better against the wolf decks, but I like it regardless. Such tempo plus card advantage.
Yeah, we're on the same page. When I saw this leaked for the first time, I was like, uh, Into the Royal from Zendikar Rising, and I was thinking Blink of an Eye from Dominaria, and I think we saw that in a core set too.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize. Yeah, it's just conditional blink of an eye for for wolves.
Yeah, you can't target it. You can't use it for two, but I never wanted to use it for two anyway. Like unless you're targeting a werewolf, I almost always. It did save your butt sometimes when you left up 2 mana. That has to be a knock on it. However, you don't have to actually pay your second blue pip ever, so that it's easier to cast in that way.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
that blue pip hurt. I like it at C plus.
I think so. I only got to play with this card once, and I did not hit a werewolf. I don't have much experience with it, but tempo is the name of the game these days. I think C plus sounds right.
Maybe he's being
Rejected.
de-werewolf
Oh
on
yeah.
art.
Oh yeah. 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 Oh, the Cradle has some competition for cutest card, I guess. It's Mischievous Catgeist,
Cat's
one in a
cradle.
blue. Uh, if it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's a 1/1 cat spirit, and it has Disturb, so it turns into an enchantment that does just that. If it deals combat damage to a player, it's an aura that goes on a creature that has that aura. If it does combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's one of those. If it goes untreated at the start of the game, it can get real lopsided in terms of the game. I haven't seen that happen much at all though. I'm not going to complain with this card because the aura is actually legit if you have any uh, evasion.
Yeah, it's works. I think it's a really nice include in a deck that is a little bit built around it. If you have good removal, you're on the draw, you have good tempo. Uh, Pecking in here for a couple times just to get an extra card or two um, might be enough in this format to swing the game.
If you're on the
Like,
play, you play this down. Even if they have a blocker, all it takes is you to have the bounce, one of the couple bounce spells we talked about, or a removal, or a Chill of the Grave to tap their card down. If you have a Chill of the Grave, you get a card for that, and then this swings in on their blocker with their blocker down, and their thing doesn't untap. There's ways to make this card just net you so much value. And the backside, I said, is arguably better than the front side if that doesn't work out.
yeah,
Uh,
I
I
don't think it reaches B minus, but it's definitely a card that you'd always would play. I think I'd
Yeah,
give it a C plus.
yeah, it's gone up after playing. It's gone up in my opinion after playing with this card a couple times. So I would give it C plus as well. I have an artifact now.
Yeah, the Soul Cipher board. It's a one in a blue artifact at uncommon. Enters the board with 3 counters on it. Uh, it has an activated ability. One in a blue. You can tap it. Look at the top 2 cards of your graveyard. Put one of them in your graveyard. And then whenever a creature card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, remove an counter, and then you can transform it into this 3/2 Cipher Bound Spirit, which has 3 in a blue activated ability. Draw 2 cards. Discard a card.
This looks
Way
like
too slow for this format, and just it's if you were ever able to get it to do the thing, it would be pretty good. But it's just So this isn't like an aggro format. I just would never play it. I think it's a D minus.
In draft, I feel the same, but I'm thinking about our sealed league early weeks. This actually has potential just because you usually have the time to do all this stuff, and in that case,
Yes.
the activated
Yeah.
ability on this guy is not bad at all.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
For the sealed league, especially if you're in like three colors, just selecting. I mean, tossing off your really crappy cards in sealed league is going to be really good, but um, yeah, it's not what you want to be doing.
not for
Maybe if
draft.
you have a really heavy mill deck, it could be worthwhile,
I've had the
but
opponent play
otherwise,
this and me not care at all in draft. It's yeah, something like D plus. I can't think of any cool synergies with this outside of graveyard either. But I would play it early league. That's early hour league. That's about all.
yeah, that's
Ooh, you mentioned this card before. Storm
yeah.
Chaser Drake. It's a 2-mana 2/1 flyer. It's a Drake, and whenever it becomes the target of a spell you control, draw a card. It's a really good ability for an already good creature with a 2/1 flyer that I'm happy to play on as a 2/1 in any deck. Beats the Vampire. Was it Vampire Neonate? That was a 2-mana 2/1 that can't block. Was it Neonate? Vampire something from the last set.
Yeah, the neonate that can't block.
Beats that by a long shot. So yeah, obviously a target for any spells. The Cradle's one. What else do we have? We have the bounce it back to your hand. It's not incredible when you do that, but
Cradle, it works really well with Cradle. It works well with pump spells,
any aura, of course.
auras. So like your spirits deck, your spells deck, where you have the like little cantripy ancestral recall. I'm currently testing a deck with that, not with a Storm Chaser Drake, but you know, ancestral recall on a Storm Chaser Drake is like draw two cards, deck for 3 or 4, whatever. So
This is something to have like load up on one card kind of deal. Like if you have the Cradle
hmm
to protect it, because you're getting a card back, everything becomes a cantrip.
yeah,
This actually makes it to the B range for me to pull into that color.
yeah, I think like a B minus, especially early on, and it's gonna really enable your spells deck.
Wonder if it gets to B. Two
Sure.
mana, two
Yeah,
one. It's high,
it's
pretty high
it's
tech.
it's like a really good card just being a 2 mana 2/1 that can also block.
Of course, the issue with giving it a B is nothing in your deck that targets this. It's not bad, but it's not like B range in that case. But you can
I
start
think
taking picks around it.
I'm just gonna give it. I think yeah, a B is probably right. I mean, it's always gonna be
I'm happy if I
a
have
great card
like
to have in
three
B.
things that target this. I'm happy to take it at B.
Yeah. The Biolume Egg is next. This is a 2 and a blue 0/4 Serpent Egg that has Defender. When Biolume Egg enters the battlefield, scry 2. When you sacrifice Biolume Egg, return it tapped at the beginning of the next end step. Transformed. It transforms into a Biolume Serpent, which is a 4/4 that has an activated ability to sacrifice 2 islands. Cannot be blocked this turn.
Wait, Runo can copy this. I guess it comes as a copy of the backside. I guess
It would no, it would be this side copied.
this side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes more sense than an egg. uh,
Um,
I I don't know what it is if it's this set or a design philosophy they have in general, but a lot of the things you'll notice happen at the end of the when at the beginning of the next end step, including this, which makes it weird. Like you exploit this and it doesn't, nothing's on the battlefield, and you go, "Whoa, just happened." Oh, it's at the beginning of the end step. A lot of things you'll see trigger, like the black white uncommon, signpost uncommon, like just stuff that usually happens right away. For some reason, happens at end step in this set. This is an example of that.
yeah, maybe it's to slow the formats, slow things down.
Good.
For this, it doesn't matter too much.
No, it doesn't. I just noticed a lot of stuff happens at end step and can only be done at sorcery speeds. That happens a lot in this set for whatever reason.
I think it's like a C plus. You have to sacrifice it. You have to have the stuff that you want to sacrifice it to. So if you have no exploit, it's pretty worthless.
If you got an exploit heavy deck, this helps you find it pretty well because of the scry too. That's one thing. Whenever my opponent plays that, I'm like, oh, they're totally found one of their like 10
Yeah,
exploit
you're
creatures.
just gonna cycle until you have an exploit card coming up.
What do you get when you get it to go off is an attacking 4. No, it's not an attacking 4/4 on turn 4 because it only happens at the end of the turn. So it's only attacking as a 4/4 on turn 5, and that's if you do the thing. And
Yeah, I think it's a defender and um, sacrificing islands.
not something you want to do unless
Not
you're ending the
always
game.
what I'm going to be wanting to do to get 4 damage because I'm probably be not playing a bunch, so I'm going to drop a lot of them to blood tokens.
As a
But it
baseline,
is a win condition.
I don't think I could rate it too high. As a baseline, yeah, it's an 0/4 that you don't even want to block with if they're attacking that's something big or you suspect them to have a trick. Then it becomes a 0/4, which is like a 1 mana card, but it scries you too. So if you're not doing the thing, this is bad. If you're doing the thing, it's not even that great. So I
Yeah,
can't rate it too
17
high.
lands has it as a really high win rate increase though.
Really.
Uh-huh. And I think that's probably like if you're putting it in the deck, you're really playing it so that you're sacrificing something and um, hitting something else. I mean, it's essentially you're getting an exploit trigger for
True.
free plus. So if you have the stuff to make it go off, it's gonna like 1-2 punch them every single time you get it to go off.
True, and the 4/4 does block on turn 4, although it can't attack. It's nice and
Yeah, and
defensive.
it's a really, I mean, it's a big blocker for the format.
Yeah, a lot of the
So
vampires like 3/3s and whatever, 3 attack.
yeah, the like vampires are just not gonna get through this thing for like 4 turns,
Uh, I'd
3 or 4 turns. So
it's
C
a
plus
nifty
for me,
card.
kind of a build around though.
Yeah, it's definitely a build around. If you can get it going, I'd give it C plus if you're building around it. Yeah. Next we have Geist Light Snare. It's 2 and a blue instant. It's this spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit. It also costs 1 less to control if you to cast if you control enchantment. Counter target spell unless the controller pays 3. We're seeing a lot of counter spells. This one costs only 1 blue if but they can negate it if they pay 3. If you have the two things going, the front side of a disturb card and the back side of a disturb card, or just a spirit and an aura.
Um, I mean, I think in niche cases, this card can actually be really good. I saw because not a lot of people are taking it unless you kind of are doing it. I think somebody was in our league who had like 4 copies of these or something.
Oh, wow, at an uncommon.
Yeah. Um, so I mean,
I think,
if you're in this deck, it might be reasonable as kind of a tempo play.
yeah, I agree. If you're in the deck, I'm gonna rate it probably worse. We said C minus for the other counter spells. Maybe not the first one that exiles, but no, yeah, we didn't say that for syncopate. I don't think, but the other ones we gave C minus. I think this has to be D plus because you have to work for it to be better, and they can still pay 3. So it's two things working against each other. Sorry, it's one thing in its favor, one thing against its favor, and when I'm comparing it to the other spells, the other counter spells.
Yeah. I will say that I mean like 'cause there's so many counter spells. Like you're gonna pretty much be able to find whichever one that you want, so that makes them a little bit better. Uh, because certain decks are gonna want certain ones. Um, so like if you're in it, you're gonna know. They're also just if you happen to have it in your sealed league, I mean they're always great sideboard cards.
Yeah, true. I will. I can't give this too high. I'm gonna say D plus in general. It makes it to C minus if you're in the that can reduce the cost for sure though.
Yeah. Um, Next up is Thirst for Discovery. This is 2 and a blue for a instant and uncommon. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a basic land card. I really like this card.
Divination never looked better.
Yeah, Divination never looked better.
Instant.
Probably like a C plus and move on to the next.
Yeah, that other card we saw that draws 4 and you have to get rid of 2. This is a step up from that.
Yeah. Just for mechanic wise, really easy to hit a basic land off of 3. In 17 in the ratios that people
Yeah,
commonly play.
and even if you don't, there's stuff that you don't mind discarding in this set, and especially in blue in this set.
Yeah.
Next we have Witness the Future. It's a sorcery for 3 mana. target player shuffles up to 4 cards, target cards from their graveyard into their library, and you look at the top 4 cards of your library. So this is no matter who you targeted. Then put one of those cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. So this nets you 1 card for playing 1 card, but it has that ability to let you go infinite in some ways. Also, if you need to get stuff out of the opponent's library, this is a way to do it. Not incredibly impressive, but something. There are infinite combos, I guess, with this card. I think Scob, that is that even a good combo? The Scob that gets you back an instant or sorcery. I guess it refills your deck if you put that guy in. Gets you.
Yeah, I mean, there's some infinite combos you can start to cook up, but I don't think the removal is good enough in the set that you can kind of do the like lockdown mill out opponent thing.
This enables the clear the mind strategy, basically, of the set. It's the way to do that
Yeah,
of the set.
I just don't. I don't think it's. I don't think that strategy is going to be like anything more than
No,
like 5% of the time. So
some people will try it though. One thing to note is this kind of card's worse in our seal league because 60 cards makes it less relevant to what you shuffled into your deck, and mill isn't as much of a thing.
yeah. Although if you're playing a graveyard deck, it makes it more relevant because they're going to be even more diffusely spread.
I think I give this like D plus. No, I'm gonna
Yeah,
give it D. I'm not even taking it as high as D plus. I think.
I'm giving it a D as well.
Ooh, I like this card.
Yeah, this card's a pain to deal with.
You want to read it?
Yeah. So Gutter Skulker, 3 and a blue for Spirit 3/3 that can't be blocked if it attacks alone. It disturbs for 3 and a blue again, and it just gives something else the Saboteur hands. Apparently, you can see it's
Gutter shortcut.
climbing on the top of the gutter. Gross.
So, guys have a knack for showing up wherever they're least expected. Some people take that as inspiration.
Good flavor text. Good
Mm-hmm.
flavor text. A great card. It's sort of like big enough that it's pecking in for 3, and then when somebody kills it, or you just let it become, it can block pretty well. So uh, you just put it on something that's really annoying, like the black lifelink creature, the 4/3.
Yeah.
God, that's impossible to
The good thing
to
about
raise.
this, a lot of Magic games come down to like one creature that can't be dealt with, and this like gives you 2 of those. Just attacking in with one creature effectively every turn. A lot of games can just be one like that, and board stalls. This gives you 2 of those, as I said, and then it's even upside if that creature has like does something when it hits, like the lifelink you said, or the Catgeist can draw a card. That's what the aura does on the backside of this if you want to slap it on something. But
Yeah,
alone, it's a 3/3 hitting every turn. It's like a 3/3 flyer, but better than flying. This pulls me into blue. I would probably give this a B.
yeah. I'm gonna give it a B minus. It's a B actually. It's just always something I want to play.
Yeah, it's two creatures that have to be dealt with.
The wizard.
Whispering Wizard. It is a 3 and a blue human wizard. It's a 3/2, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a 1/1 white spirit token with flying. And it only triggers once a turn, so don't even try and trigger it twice. I'm sure people have tried. Save your instance for the opponent's turn if you want to do it twice. This is a very good card for in terms of a win condition, especially if you have more than one of these. But of course, you need to have non-creature spells. Those are around everywhere since we have auras on the back of all the disturbed creatures. So it's not that hard to make this work if you're in blue. Just don't try and make it work if you don't have too many non-creatures, because then it's bad. You need not that many though, so you can take this pretty highly. I think this is something like B minus for me.
Yeah, B minus, and it gets really good if your deck is built around it. Um, as opposed to like the wisp, or what was that, the mystic thing that made
Murmuring Mystic
birds?
from was it? Oh no, it was a Demir card, I think. No,
No, it was like a 1/5. So it
yeah,
didn't really do much to fight itself, but you could trigger it more, but I think it was also more expensive.
No, I'm saying it was
I
Guilds
like,
of Ravnica, so I think it was in the mere flavored card. Even though is it that would trigger it better? I
yeah,
think that was the set it was in, the Murmuring Mystic.
yeah.
And I
But
think there's a
this
standard
card
card.
really rocks.
There's a standard card revolving around standard deck revolving around Murmuring Mystic and some Drakes. I think.
Hmm.
This isn't as good once per turn as you said, and it can't block that well.
Yeah, it can't block, but it can attack in pretty decently. I like
Yeah.
it at B.
Okay, I give it a B minus. We have two more uncommons here before rares and mythics.
Diver Scab is 3 blue blue for a 3/5 zombie at uncommon. Has exploit. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. When Diver Scab exploits a creature, target creature's owner puts it on the top or the bottom of their library.
You have to read the flavor text
So
on this one.
it doesn't need to breathe, but the suit helps keep its parts together. That's pretty good. Um, so this is a tricky card. I know a lot of people get confused about this. So when you exploit a creature, you then target any creature you want, and then that creature's owner puts it on the top or the bottom of their library. So basically, even though you're exploiting your own creature or the scob itself, you target the opponent's creature, and they have to top or bottom it.
And as we know
Um,
from Revenge of the Drowned, that's basically removal. Blue.
yeah.
But
So this is card advantage because it puts it on the top of their deck or the bottom. Um, if you have a sacrifice thing, it's really good, and that 6 round block and even attack later. Um, or if you just really need to dump something, it can revenge of like Revenge of the Drowned or
yeah,
whatever that Strixhaven card was
this effect.
itself.
Oh yeah, Burying Books.
Burning Books.
That effect's been pretty good because yeah, in blue it's kind of like removal. It's just if you can't deal with the card, it's coming back. But there are a lot more uses for it than just like it can take counters off of stuff. It could take enchantments off of stuff. The effect's good. The only problem is again exploit, like we said about the other ones. I think I give it C plus for that because it's hard to make it work in a set as it turns out.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B minus.
Okay.
This this worm.
Last uncommon here is Screaming Swarm, 6 in a blue. It's a flyer, bird horror, and it's a horrible picture. Whenever
It
you
is a
attack with
horrible.
one or more creatures, target player mills that many cards. It has an ability, and that's target player, so you can mill them or you. And I know Limited Resources Recap got in trouble with the chat for a little while because it didn't notice till the at the end of talking about this card. It has the ability to, in a blue, put Screaming Swarm from your graveyard to second from the top of your library. 6 mana 4/4 flyer on its base that comes back. I think that's pretty good. Forget about the mill stuff even, and it's still pretty good because it's a flyer they have to deal with over and over unless they exile it.
Yeah, I like this card. Probably B plus.
I think I'd put it at B just because it's 6, and
It's pretty expensive.
if if they deal with your 6 mana play, the tempo is going to be such that yeah they can get it back later, but do they have time to? I'm crapping on the card, but I think it's good. I think it's B. It takes a lot to get this back and waiting. But it's if they have no way to deal with this is actually a great card in our sealed league probably because it gets you the mill and it gets you the inevitability.
Yeah, inevitability I think is one thing that the sealed league decks struggle with. Like you're gonna want something that's gonna finish out games, um, or like exhaust all the resources that the opponent has. Patchwork Crawler, 1 in a blue for a 1/2 zombie horror, and this is like some nightmare creature. It has an activated ability. You can exile target creature card from your graveyard and put a +1/+1 counter on it. And it has activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with it. Um, not not many activated abilities in this set that I care to go through all this work to get.
It has more of
Um,
a constructed vibe going on it, I think, because as far as stats, you're paying 5 mana to get a 3/2 attacking. if you
Yeah,
make it work and exile an exile a creature card. Yeah, this is a constructed card probably. It's like D, I would say.
yeah, I agree.
This card I've not seen yet. Dream Shackle Geist. It's 2 blue and 1 colorless spirit. It's a rare flyer. That's a 3/1. At the beginning of your combat, you choose up to 1. Tap a target creature, or target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So it's nice on attack because you get to tap down their biggest blocker for free on a 3-mana 3/1. And the other ability kind of keeps something tapped, so it's great for racing. It's just awesome for racing because you're gonna either beat them down or stop them from beating you.
Yeah, it's a 3/1 flyer straight up by itself. Card's really strong. I think it's a probably an A minus,
Trying to think about
probably a
how it
B
would
plus.
play out. If you're behind, it
If
doesn't
you're
stop their
behind,
best thing.
it's still tapping something. If you're behind, they're probably attacking, so it's probably locking down something that's attacking you.
And you get to lock down something that's already tapped uh, otherwise. I think this is. I think I want the blue deck to be a little aggressive if I'm playing this. It's not a knock on it so much. It's still a great card. I think I wanted a B plus though. It doesn't have that
Yeah,
factor of A range cards that's like, oh, you win. It's just great and valuable.
yeah,
I think I give it B plus.
agree with you there. B plus. Giralf, card I'm really looking forward to trying to play with. So the Visionary Stitcher is 2 and a blue for a legendary human wizard. It's 1/4, has text, zombies you control have flying, and then you can a blue tap sacrifice a non-token creature, create an XX blue zombie creature token where X is the sacrificed creature's toughness, and it will have flying.
I can
This
already
card is,
sense the power of the rares in this set. We said it before, but the rares are like I'm so impressed by the rares already. We've only a couple in.
I mean, this is so good. It just can. I mean, it's at instant speed.
Surprisingly, yeah,
So
I expected it to be
you
sorcery at
can
this point.
attack with something, sacrifice it, switch it to block. You can.
You can throw
Um,
it down and just make. There's a bunch of zombies in this set. You just throw it down and have like 7 points of damage out of nowhere in the air,
yeah, it's repeatable. Um,
and it makes your stuff dodge removal at instant speed.
yeah, it's
I
really
think
good.
I think this is like it's definitely in
Straight
the A
A,
range.
maybe.
I'll give it
Yeah,
an A, sure. I'll give it an A. It's got a lot of uses where I like it. A non-zombie deck is just fine anyway. Doesn't have its max power in there, but non-zombie deck's fine. This is a card I have in my Sealed League here, and I realized. Well, I'll read it first. Inspired idea is 2 colors and a blue. It says draw 3 cards. Your maximum hand size is reduced by 3 for the rest of the game. But if you pay 2 blue and 3 colorless, so 5 total, you just draw 3 cards. I realized this has synergy with my feast. I forget the card. When you discard cards, you get free zombies. I realized, yeah,
Hmm.
I can discard to hand size and get free zombies because of this card if I played in my sealed league. The jank combo. This is actually not as bad as I think people think it is. The point in time where you basically don't want to play card draw spells till it's later on, and you don't want to lose out on tempo. You want to play your creatures and the other stuff that affects the board first. Usually, when you want to play a draw spell, it's going to be hard to have 4+ cards in your hand at that point, especially when we're playing in a blood focus set. You're going to often like not have too many cards in your hand anyway. Your other draw spells are turned into blood tokens a lot of the time anyway, so you're not netting cards. I just don't see too often where you're gonna have 5+ cards after having played this. So, and even if you think you will, you can pay 5.
Yeah, and having it cost 3 means that even if you have 5 or 6 mana up, if it's in the late game, just cast it for the cleave costs or for the non-cleave cost, so you can cast your next spell that you draw off of it. I think that's probably worth more than you know paying 5 mana. 5 mana draw 3 is still fine.
And who cares if you have to discard a land? I don't think it's gonna happen often at all, but who cares if you have to discard a land? Not the worst thing in the world. It's like a draw 3,
Yeah,
discard a land. This is divination, but 50% better. I think it's how good is divination in this set? 50% better divination. I'd give it like B minus.
I think I agree with you there. I would. This card's strong. You would generally always play it.
People are scared by the hand size thing, but I don't think it matters that much.
Yeah, you don't just play to your strengths. Discard stuff. Its graveyard synergy is good.
Yeah. Next year.
Winged Portent is 1 blue for a uh, instant, and it's like a bat skull over the moon.
Oh yeah.
It has cleave for 4 blue-green, and it says draw a card for each creature with flying you control. You can cleave out the with flying card, so then it's draw a card for each creature you control.
Simic card. Doesn't seem like it, but it is.
To get this to a 3 mana draw 3, you have to have a lot of flyers.
Thinking spirits? What else is in the set that make this make sense? Probably
Yeah,
for
it's
constructed.
constructed mostly, but for spirits, I mean, I have cast this once to draw like 7 cards with
Wow.
creature heavy deck, but
All flyers,
like,
and you didn't win by that point.
no, I mean, it still didn't really help me win. I just got more creatures.
I think this is a bit too close to constructed. You know what? That deck
Yeah,
that has a million of those that you named it before, and I forgot again. That keeps giving you 1/1 flyers.
yeah. This is if you have a Whispering Wizard, it's okay.
No, I meant the aura that buffs a creature every time a creature enters the battlefield.
Mm,
The deck focused on that. Maybe you can have this, but in general, I think I'm giving this like D. Can't take it too highly.
a B,
A D.
a D. Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really good.
Okay. Consuming Tide. It's a sorcery for 4 mana, 2 blue and 2 colorless. Each player chooses a non-land permanent they control. Return all non-land permanents not chosen this way to their owner's hand. Then you draw a card for each opponent who has more cards in hand than you. This is Commander. This is like all Commander written all over it because you get to draw several cards. Also, I mean, you're paying 4 mana to do a thing that might not even be beneficial for you. This is probably F in limited.
Yeah, I mean, it will. I think blue's gonna have a lot of spells, so you're probably returning less permanents.
True.
If you have a lot of auras, it will let you play all of them again.
Yeah,
Like if you're
true.
doing that thing, but the routes to getting a lot of card advantage off of this, because you're going to be down 1 card to start, um, is pretty tough. So
You know what? You can
it's
sideboard this against the token creation, like insect, this insect heavy or spirit heavy decks, I guess.
yeah, it's a good sideboard card. It's not like if you open this in your early pool, it's a good card that can kind of like save you. Cards that give you extra time
Yeah, that's
are
true.
are fine.
That's true.
Um,
I'll
so
say sideboard like D plus, but generally an F. It's got to
yeah,
come up in a specific situation if you're playing this unlimited.
I'm gonna say sideboard C plus, but generally a D.
All right, we have 3 more rares here. Mirror Hall Mimic. Ooh, one of my favorite cards of the set. So it's 4 and a blue for a creature that's a 0/0, but you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. So anyone's, yours or your opponent's. Except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. It disturbs for 5. So 2 blue and 3 colorless. Ghastly Mimicry is an aura. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. This is like Helm of the Host from Dominaria. Keeps spitting out a copy of a creature, but you can put this on your
For free.
opponents for free. At the beginning of your upkeep. Oh, it doesn't get haste though. It doesn't care about the legend
Right.
stuff. So that's the knock on it. But you can put this on your opponent's stuff, and if they want to deal with it, they have to get rid of their own creature. So that's pretty damn cool, and that's only half the card, so it's a great card in my opinion.
It's super cool. It really, I mean, I love copying stuff. If it's unanswered, you just make an army, and at the worst, you just copy their best thing, and if you're losing and you have a copy to deal with whatever they're attacking you with.
Gets better with ETBs or death triggers since it is copies.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
pretty
give this an
close to an
8.
A plus, but
Yeah, it's 2 cards in one. Jeez.
I think it's just an A. I mean, it gets exiled.
Normally I would not give it A plus because if answered, my rule is if it's just answered, then I can't give it an A plus. But this has 2 sides to it, so that's a different beast. I think I'm gonna give it an A. Sometimes there's nothing great to target, and actually this stays on the battlefield if your opponent doesn't want to kill it. Sometimes
Yeah, yeah. If I mean, if it's kind of like everything's dead on the field, then you're sort of stuck waiting for something good to happen.
that's gonna happen more because there's big butts in this set, and what big butt decks do, like 1/4s and 1/5s, even if you want your thing dead, you can't be like, okay, I'm bashing you in the face every turn with it. If your
Yeah,
thing that you want dead's a 3/3 or 4/4, their 1/5's happy to just block that, and you can't kill it off. So I'm gonna give it an A. Just that
agree.
minor thing where it might be hard to kill, especially in this set. Kill off. All right, next.
Overcharged Amalgam is 2 blue blue for a 3/3 zombie horror with flash. Haven't played with this card yet. Oh, it's a flash flyer that has exploit. And when Overcharged Amalgam exploits a creature, counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability.
Very solid.
I don't care much about the exploit ability, which basically just says if they're gonna try to kill your best thing, you sacrifice your worst thing and save your best thing, which can be strong. But 4/4/3/3 flash, that's great.
Well, you can counter a creature, any spell. I think it's gonna work one of 2 ways. Either you bring this in to exploit something to counter, or you bring this in to ambush something and get a nice
Oh yeah.
block.
Oh, it just counters target spell. Yeah, so you can
Yeah.
just eat a creature that's coming in.
If you sack a creature, you get to counter a spell and get a 3/3 flying body on the field.
Yeah, I'm in for that. I mean,
Uh, Definitely take this at like I'd take this at A. It can give you get rid of one of their spells. The worst is if it's just a 4 mana 3/3 flyer, which is not amazing, but it's still fine because you can ambush
4/4/3/3 flying flash. I mean, Stormrider Spirit in mid ate a bunch of stuff. This usually will eat something
for less.
and down.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
at its worst, it's not amazing. That's my knock on it, but it's still really good at its worst. I
yeah,
think I give it
A
an A.
for me as well.
Yeah, A. Last rare here. Ooh, these rares. Hullbreaker Horror. 5 mana. Sorry, 5 colorless and 2 blue, so 7 total mana. It's a Kraken Horror. This you can copy with Bruno, right?
Yeah, you can you can copy it with Runo.
It's a 7/8 flash. Can't be countered. Whenever a spell you cast a spell, choose up to one. A return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or a return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. I had someone play this at sorcerer speed on their turn when it totally would have won in the game. In the end, I won, and it was against Dreadfast Demon. But by the way, this beats Dreadfast Demon a lot of the time. You just throw a couple of their demons back. They're copies anyway. A lot of them. And I'm not gonna say it beats it every time, but it's a way to deal with all those tokens. Because if they run out of creatures, the demon's just a 7/6 flyer.
Yeah, and it's flexible. I mean, this thing, uh, well, can easily eat something and get 2 cards. So its floor is usually that if you can get up mana enough to cast it, it's gonna be a 2-for-1. That's the floor. Um, and then it has quasi hexproof because you can always bounce itself if they're trying to kill it.
Yeah.
If you have an instant up, and then it just turns all your sorceries into just straight up tempo. This card is awesome. I wish I could play it in my sealed pool,
I,
but
It's 7 mana. I'm wondering if we tax the A plus from it to an A. I want to give it A plus, but 7 mana, you don't get to play those cards every game. That's my only problem. I think I'm gonna give it an A because of the cost. That's about all.
I'm gonna stay with A plus just because I think it will kill you.
Yeah. Hesitant on the high mana cost from many years of mana scoop. Now we have 3 mythics.
Right, Jacob Hauken, Inspector. This card is super fun. It's a 1 and a blue for a 0/2 legendary creature, human advisor. It does a couple things. It taps, you draw a card, then you exile a card from your hand face down. You can look at that card, but what you're going to do with it is eventually you're going to pay 4 and 2 blue to transform Jacob Hauken, and then it transforms into this looking glass enchantment called Hauken's Insight. And it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top of your library face down. And once during each of your turns, you may play a land or cast a spell from amongst the cards exiled with this permanent without paying its mana cost. Without paying its mana cost. So it draws you cards and lets you cast them.
It's a lot to take in.
Uh,
At its
so
base, you get to loot for free every turn from turn 2.
yeah, you loot. And basically, I would do it every turn because you can cast those cards later if Hauken
Yeah.
survives.
Oh, these cards work for the back cards.
And
And
then you
after looting, you have to pay the 6 right after looting, and that's how it transforms.
yeah, and then you basically want to exile stuff that's either uh, I don't necessarily know what the best tack to take is with it. Like you have a few turns to suffer removal. You probably want to get to 6 mana, so I would just probably put everything that's not immediately applicable on the board into Hauken,
Yeah,
and
true.
then make sure I get to 6. And once you're at 6 mana, um,
This thing's not
it's
being
going to be hard
dealt
to
with.
lose.
You get draw 2 cards a turn basically once this is flipped, and those exiled cards get to be played for free. Oh yeah, so
Yeah,
you exile the non-lands with his looting, so that you can play them for free later,
yeah,
and you get to 6 mana.
yeah.
At
So
the very
basically, it's just
worst, it's a
in the
looter
late
for free.
in the late game, it just you basically play it and hope to untap with it, and then go from there.
Yeah. It's not gonna flip every game or even close, so it's still a fine creature without that. It's just not gonna flip every game, so I'm not gonna give it the highest grade ever. But the the floor on it is just a great fine creature, a 2 mana looting every turn, and inevitably you're gonna win if something's not if the game's not ended. I think I'd give it like B plus.
Oh, I think easily almost A plus. If it flips, you win the game, and it's defensible if you have the mana up, because you can just flip it for in response to removal.
To pay 6 mana for it to flip, and then I start getting card advantage.
But you're looting up until that point.
That's true. That's good. That's if you throw it on 2 though. If you don't, it's you get it right away. True, true, true. Okay, I think I'll go A minus instead. It's hard to judge this card. It's different from anything we've seen basically. In the end, it's draw 2, but pay a lot of stuff for free once you get it going. So Cemetery Illuminator. This is part of the cycle of cemetery things. It's a 3 mana 2/3. You pay 1 colorless and 2 blue. It's a spirit, flyer. And when it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile card from your graveyard. From a graveyard, you may look at the top card of your library at any time. And once each turn, you can cast a spell from the top of your library if it shares a card type with something exiled with this. So you want to collect card types from this entering or attacking. Collect card types from the graveyard, and then you can basically cast two cards per turn, like the other card, but you have to pay for it. It's basically if this remains on the battlefield, yeah, you get lots of card advantage.
Yeah, you can't play lands with it. Um,
That's true. Oh yeah, you can.
but um, you can basically choose whatever you want and then start getting
You're
free
often
spells.
going to
And
get creature. You're often just going to be able to cast creatures on top of your library once this enters and not dealt with, which is good. It's fine. It's fine body too. 3 mana, 2/3. It's not incredibly exciting if it gets removed. You're sad. Um,
yeah, I mean, it's a 2 mana, it's a 3 mana 2/3 that exiles a card, which can be important in this format. That's, I would play that every time.
yeah.
Um,
Uh, the fact that they have to deal with this tells me it's probably A range. It like has to be dealt with because you're going to get too much card advantage if it's just sitting there attacking, and they could play anything but lands up the top.
yeah, I think an A minus is where I'd put it.
Same here. And the last mythic,
Necroduality, which is super cool. Necroduality is 3 and a blue for an enchantment at Mythic. Whenever a non-token zombie enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Um, so obviously a build around, but a build around like I think.
a lot of zombies are not tokens in this set. You can get zombies just from blue-black creatures. Um, and a lot of them have exploit, so I guess they can exploit themselves if you don't actually need the body, getting more value. Build around, it seems really good if you have a lot of zombies. Just play a lot of creatures in this. Don't. It's going to be hard to make it work, probably, but it's got tons of value. I think build
Yeah, I
around A
mean,
sounds right.
yeah, I think the card there was a card in Kaldheim that also copied these things, which was strong, and I think it was about the thing, but you chose your creature type.
Yeah,
But probably easier to get lots of zombies in Val than it is to get lots of
they have ETB
tribal
effects,
stuff.
which I like, the zombies, because of exploit,
They have entered the battlefield effects, yeah.
and that makes it even better. Like if you want to copy stuff, ETBs and death triggers are great. So yeah, build around A sounds right, but obviously you need zombies or else don't take this at all. Alright, so that's it for the blue cards. Join us for the next video when we look at the black cards in Crimson Vow.
Do we want to say like maybe something about
Yeah.
blue? Not super strong in draft, it seems like. I've
Oh yeah.
my trophies have been with blue actually, but um,
The general
in
consensus is blue is weaker in this set.
yeah, but not terribly weak. Certainly can play it, and in sealed, I think has a lot of strong synergies with the previous sets. So
Yeah. The reason why it's not doing so well probably has to do with exploit being a little weak. Without the most exploitable things being on the battlefield, and the mill deck is like not. It can go up as I said, but it's not that impressive. Yeah, so we'll be back for the review of the black cards next time.